Hello, friends. We're back with another Set 3 Twilight of the Republic deck tech. This tech in particular is being used by a person by the name of Two Moons in the Take the Initiative League. They've recently done their cut to top 16, and this is one of the decks that really stood out to me as being very interesting. It's kind of the Luke controlled deck from Set 1, but there's a card in it that it supercharges the deck and it really opens up some possibilities. And there's a 2 card kind of combo that gets kind of nutty, and we'll go over that. And then on top of that, we'll also maybe do some force table games after the deck tech. So initially, we're starting off with Luke Skywalker leader from set 1 with just 30-point Echo base. I think that's what the vast majority of these decks ran. I don't think this deck has ever ran ECL, to my knowledge anyway. So we're looking at 3 copies of Alliance Dispatcher. This is actually part of the combo, because you can play him turn 1, and then turn 2 you can accelerate out a 4-cost unit. And you've got some absolute bangers, particularly Kanan Jarrus and Shakti. So we've got Barriss Offee, and the heal ability I don't think actually gets used at all in this deck, maybe after sideboard. But the key here is you've got a 1-drop Jedi unit, which goes great with if you're playing Maz Kanata, or you can drop her turn 1 and then put a shield on her with Luke. So she is a lot better than I thought she was going to be going forward. We've got 3 copies of Maz Kanata. She's really good. Just like with Barriss, you can drop her turn 1, put a shield on her with Luke, and then she can get out of hand pretty quick, because this deck plays a lot of units that are fairly low costed. We run 3 copies of Battlefield Marine, because this card is just too good to not run it in any sort of green aggro deck. It's one of those cards where if you're playing green and you're not running this, you're probably doing something wrong. 3 copies of Hu Yang. He's got decent enough stat lines, but his ability to give another friendly unit +2/+2 is kind of insane. So you can start off with a turn 1 Maz Kanata shielder, and then turn 2 drop a Hu Yang, and then that Maz Kanata is now a 5/5. So that's kind of, well, no, not a 5/5, it's a 4/4 with a shield. And that's crazy. And on top of that, it's a 2/4. So Hu Yang isn't going anywhere anytime soon. He's going to stick around. Village Protectors. This is kind of another card from set 2 that saw some, I think it sees play in the Ray deck, but it's a 2/2 for 3. It comes down with Sentinel and a shield, so it's pretty hard to get rid of right off the bat. And then you can even drop this, and then even put another shield on top of it with Luke, which can be kind of intense. Really hard to deal with for your opponent. 2 copies of Yoda Old Master. This it's a 2/4 for 3. It's got Restore on it, and you draw a card when he dies. He's pretty good. He replaces himself. 2 copies of Kanan Jarrus. I always thought Kanan Jarrus was a pretty decent card. It's a 4/5 for 4, but it heals you and mills cards off the top of your opponent's deck. I don't think mill is going to be a strategy for now. We're getting close, though. We're getting close. But the ability to do healing, especially to compensate for some of the hyper-aggressive aggro decks, that's pretty good, especially since you can drop him turn 2 in this deck. He's going to do a lot of work for you. We've got 3 copies of Shakti. I think this card is being slept on by a lot of people. I know the 4-drop slot is a pretty powerful slot to be dropping stuff at. I know that sounded really ridiculous saying it, but it made sense in my head. It's a 3/4, so the stat lines aren't great. It's going to be not super hard to get rid of, but it's not, super hard to get rid of. But the ability that it creates a clone trooper token on attack, and it buffs your tokens, if this sticks on the board, you're probably going to be setting up the win. Now, we'll see how the meta develops. This card may just be completely outclassed, but especially if you're running Alliance Dispatcher, you could be dropping this on turn 2. So we're running 3 copies of Obi-Wan Kenobi, you can essentially get him out turn 3. No, is it turn 4? I think, no, turn 3. You can actually get him out turn 3 with this deck, and I'll show you why that is capable with the new card that came out in set 3. But it's a 4/6 with Sentinel, and it gives experience tokens to stuff when he dies. He's the perfect kind of mid to late game stepping stone. 3 copies of Luke Skywalker. Luke Skywalker, a 6/7 for 7, restore 3, and it can kill something when it hits the board. That's probably going to win you games. I know I've always thoroughly enjoyed playing this unit in the Han Solo decks, so any opportunity to play him is going to make me happy. And plus, it gets him out of my binder. 2 copies of Luminara Unduli. She has the ability to heal 1 damage from your base for each unit you control. So if you are in a very tight aggro matchup, this coming down essentially turn 5 can really just kind of seal the game up for you. So for space units, we don't run a lot of space units. We run 2 copies of the Concord Dawn Interceptors, which this card is just annoying to have to deal with because a 4 hit points in space is kind of that sweet spot where your opponent's going to have to be wasting removal on it, or they're going to have to be waiting till the end game to try and get rid of it with its larger spaceships. So, and it gets +2/+0 when it's being attacked. So this card is kind of ridiculous. 2 copies of Home 1. I don't think you're going to play this very often because it does cost 8, although theoretically you can get it out turn 5. But it's going to allow you to get some recursion on one of your lower costed units, and it's going to allow you to just do some healing. I don't know how I feel about resupply in the post set 1 meta, but we're playing it out to see how it runs. I mean, I did not make this deck. I am just covering what someone else did, so there may be even some lines of play that I don't see. I know a resupply is going to allow you to kind of accelerate some of your big hits a little earlier, but I still think that a turn spent playing resupply is a turn you probably should be doing something else. 2 copies of Fall the Dragon, especially with how much of a pain cards like Darth Maul and Quiet Dragon are. If you're running blue, you kind of have to have 1 or 2 of these tucked away for the late game. Probably don't want to play this early game at all. 1 copy of Rival's Fall. This is going to allow you to deal with any problematic leader unit. We don't have to worry about Boba Fett anymore, but this is still going to just be your solve leader problem card. 3 copies of Ewing Reinforcement. I really enjoyed playing this card in the set 1 meta with the Han yellow deck. Or not the Han yellow deck, the Han green deck. I think this is going to allow you to get a lot of value, and it's going to allow you to search for the particular big beefy unit that you're looking for to kind of close out the game. 1 copy of Luke's lightsaber. It's not as good as Vader's lightsaber or Fallen lightsaber, but it's still going to add shield tokens. So actually, I think it heals Luke even when you play it. So this could be really instrumental in allowing your leader to stay on the board longer or beefing up your Luke unit that you've deployed. All right. So this is the card that I think makes this deck what it is. General's Blade. Attached to a non-vehicle unit. If attached unit is a Jedi, it gains on attack. The next unit you play this phase costs 2 less. So General's Blade in combination with the Alliance Dispatcher is going to allow you to reduce the cost of one of your big units by 3. So that's going to allow you to get your Obi-Wan Kenobi out on turn 3. That's going to allow you to get your Luke out on turn 4. That is pretty aggressive and with almost no drawback. Now, albeit you do have to get the General's Blade on the table, but it's really nice when you can throw General's Blade on a turn 1 Barris, and then that sets up your turn 3 to just do some absolutely insane plays. So, yet again, the deck doesn't absolutely have to have this active to go off, but it's going to be it's a pretty important part of the game. So as I'm doing these deck techs, I'm going to always make sure that if I'm using someone else's deck idea, I'm going to tell you who it was and where it came from. TTI, if you guys aren't familiar, it's the Take the Initiative League. It is a group of European players that do an online league. I don't know what platform they do. I'm assuming they're doing it through Tabletop Simulator because that's the only digital platform that it has the set 3 cards on it. So it's going to give you the breakout of, in this deck building tool on SWU this is going to give you the deck price. I don't know how accurate this is. I know Luke Skywalker's were $40 last I looked, so I doubt this is very accurate. And I think that's going to give you kind of a breakdown. It is a unit-heavy deck. I've always, especially in this game, I'm a big fan of units that do things. Because events are great. Events are going to solve problems for you. But if you don't have a unit stapled to it, you're probably losing tempo by doing it. Or by playing an event. So, as we can see the breakdown, it is a pretty rare, heavy deck. Not a ton of legendaries. I think the Lukes might be the only legendaries. Maybe the home one as well. So not a super expensive deck if you've already got the Lukes. So all right, let's go ahead and let's hop on over to Force Table. This is what I've been using for doing my testing so far for Set 3, because as it sits now, Karabast has not added cards for Set 3, and they will not be adding cards till December, so I've been told. There are other tools such as the HoloNet client, but they've, I think, only just finished adding the Set 1 cards. And then there's Tabletop Simulator, but I don't really want to play Tabletop Simulator at the moment. We may get there at some point. So, all right, we're going to go ahead and we're going to run this deck up against a current version of Sabine Green that also was taken from the Take the Initiative League. So let's go ahead and let's fire up a game and see how it goes. So we can see here our opening hand isn't fantastic, but I think it's enough to work with. So we will not take a mulligan, and we're going to resource, I think, Fell the Dragon and Barris. So that's going to set us up to play a turn 1 Battlefield Marine. That's always going to be a solid play. And then our opponent is, of course, going to activate Sabine to do his damage. And then probably run out something like a Green Squadron A-Wing. So we'll go ahead and we'll just take the initiative. Oh, Jin or so. When an enemy unit has been defeated this phase, this unit gets +1/+0 and gains Saboteur. That's a pretty solid play. All right, so here we are. We are going to have, see, with a turn that we could be resupplying to ramp, but I think we've got so many other plays we want to make right now. I don't know if resupply is what I want to be doing. So we're just going to resource the resupply. And then we're going to play a Hu Yang, and we're going to give our Battlefield Marine +2/+2. Jern Urso's coming down. Alright, so now what we're going to do is I think we're going to attack into our opponent's Jyn Urso, because I think we want to just get the board cleared. Maybe the Fleet Lieutenant was the better play, but we'll find out later. And then we're setting ourselves up now. We're going to go ahead and take the initiative and move into the next phase. So we've got General's Blade, but we don't have a Jedi. Maybe we should have kept Barris first. Maybe that would have been a better play. Alright, so I don't think that Battlefield Marine is going to be useful to us anymore. Alright, let's go ahead and play. So let's attack with our Battlefield Marine first. I want to make sure we get that damage, because that's 5 damage. Perhaps we should have even done that last turn, but I don't know if that was the right play or not. Oh, okay, so that play doesn't make any sense to me, and that's probably the AI being bad. That shouldn't have happened. That's why testing on Force Table gets kind of wonky sometimes. So What we're going to do is we'll go ahead and we'll attack with Hu Yang, just so if they attempt to finish it off with the Fleet Lieutenant, they've essentially... No, they haven't even 2-for-1 themselves. Interesting. Well, I guess they have Sabine too, but we're going to make them use the Sabine, I think. So we're going to go ahead and play our Shakti and force them to deal with it. And we'll take the initiative. Sabine, of course. So they're just going to... Oh, okay. So they're taking out Hu Yang, which also got rid of the Battlefield Marine, but that's fine. That is fine. Let's go ahead and we will resource. I don't think we need 2 Obi-Wans. We'll play General's Blade on Shakti. Ooh, are they going to 2-for-1 themselves? No, they're going to go for the base, which is fine. And I think what we're going to do is we're going to use Shakti and we're going to take out their leader. We'll create a Crone Trooper, and then we'll reduce the cost of our next unit by 2, which is going to allow us to get Kanan Jarrus on the board. So they've taken initiative. I don't think we're in too much danger. They can't do... I don't think they can do 10 to us in one attack next turn. So we'll just go ahead and pass. Home 1, we can definitely save. We got a Village Protectors. I think we're going to shoot for getting Obi-Wan into play, though. Or do we actually use Fell the Dragon? Yeah, I think we just throw the Village Protector down. We're going to take 5. But that's okay, I think. So we're going to go ahead and attack. So we've got 7, 5, 4. No, we might actually have to... We'll actually attack with Kanan first so we can trigger the heal, because we might need a couple extra points. So we get 2. Create a Clone Trooper, reduce the next cost of our next unit by 2. And then I think what we do is we play... So if we play Home 1, that's going to allow us to get Hu Yang back. See, I think I probably should have done that differently. I could have ended up healing just a lot more by then. But that's fine. I think we play Obi-Wan. That's going to lock down their ability to attack on the ground. That was really sloppy play on my part. Action ability. We'll go ahead and give Obi-Wan a shield. We'll do action ability. Deploy Luke. Attack with Luke. And win. We'll give, let's give Kanan the shield. So, there we go. We can see that this deck does have a amazing amount of burst potential and late game recovery. We will do... Let's do one more game, what we're going to give it, and we're going to give player 2 the start. So that way that we can see that it's not just a type of deck where you're only going to win if you go first. Let's see, do we want to take a mulligan? I think we do. Yeah, just no turn 1 play is going to be really rough. Yeah, we can work with this. All right, choose 2 cards of resource. Let's do probably home one and a U-wing. We'll play Maz Kanata. And then we're going to go ahead and activate Luke's ability to give Maz Kanata a shield. We'll pass. So unfortunately, we didn't really get a solid turn to play. I think we're going to send the U-wing reinforcements packing. Ooh, that's going to be stinky. Alright, so let's go ahead and play our Alliance Dispatcher. We'll give Maz Kanata an XP token. We'll go ahead and attack in with Maz Kanata. Maybe we should take a... it's fine, I think. I think that's still a fine line of play. Alright, we'll go ahead and use Luke's ability, and we'll put a heroism or a shield token on our Alliance Dispatcher, and then we'll go ahead and pass the turn. I believe what we want to do is we still actually just want to send our resupply to the resource. Interesting. Okay. So let's go ahead and use our action ability of our Alliance Dispatcher. Play for 1 less. Let's go ahead and play... I think Kanan is what we want here. We'll give an XP token to Maz Kanata. And then we're going to go ahead and give a shield to Kanan Jarrus with Luke's ability. And then we're going to go ahead and attack. I think we're just going to go... I think we'll just get rid of Jyn Erso, because we do have the shield. No, she had a shield too. I didn't realize that. I probably need to pay attention. I'm not very good at this game. Alright, so we'll take initiative. Sabine attacking Kanan. Well, isn't that less than thematic? Okay, so we've already got a Maz on board. Probably don't need that one. So we can... put General's Blade on Kanan Jarrus. Alright, we'll go ahead and let's attack. We'll throw that into base, and we'll do his on trigger. We'll heal 2, and then we'll make our next card we play, or next unit we play is going to cost 2 less. We'll play... Do I want to get really aggressive with this? Or... Nah. So we're going to play Hu Yang, because I think that's the more aggressive play. And we're just going to make Maz Kanata just ridiculous. And then... I think we just use Maz Kanata to get rid of Sabine here. Because we have to be careful now that we're not... I think what we actually have to do is we have to take the initiative here. Let's go ahead and go ahead and resource our Battlefield Marine. Okay, and then we're going to go ahead and use Kane and Jarrus to get rid of actually, is that what we want to do? She's already got 3 on. So she only needs the 1 damage. I'm almost wondering if... But I think we need the heal. So we're going to use... So we'll take 3 versus 5. I think we're just going to take Jin Erso out with Maz. Oh, yeah, I did my math wrong there. So let it be shown that you actually do have to be able to count to play this deck properly. So I think if I had actually played the deck correctly, I probably would have won that one. So, but there we go. Okay, let's go ahead and I think that'll probably do it for now. So there's kind of an example of the deck. I'll post a link to it in the description. Check it out. I think it's fun. I think you'll enjoy it too. So, all right, thanks for tuning in, everyone, and have a good night.